Hi, everyone. This is Jacqui Cooper with JCooperTravels, and I want to welcome everyone back to this episode. I am very excited to have my guest on today. I will share a little bit more about her in a quick second. For those that are new to the JCooperTravels talk show, definitely go over to the podcast side, so that way you can also see our conversations, and like and subscribe to both, because we have ongoing episodes about stories of people who are entrepreneurs, who are traveling, who are just inspirations to all. And that's really why I created J. Cooper Travels, because I wanted us to talk about how do we travel in life, personally, professionally, with our family and those in our community. And that's actually a great segue to my special guest today, because she's all about the community and about helping and about making sure that those in the charity world are supported. And so, how are you doing today?
I am fine. How are you?
I'm doing great. So, I want you to introduce yourself. I know we share very similar backgrounds, but I want you to introduce yourself, share a little bit more about the business that you're in and what you do.
So, thank you so much for having me come on today. We do have very similar backgrounds, which is so funny to me. You are on the East Coast. I am in Houston. My name is Patrina Pelton-Smith, and I am the principal consultant and CEO of the Business of Charity. And it is a nonprofit consultancy that focuses on helping nonprofit organizations be fundable and sustainable, particularly through formation, administration, infrastructure, and grant writing. And so I started out as a grant writer and realized that many nonprofits need some other support. And so here is where I find myself today. It definitely has been a journey because I went to law school with the idea that I was going to practice family law. I have never practiced a day in my life. But at the same time, I use my JD every day, thank goodness, because otherwise my mother would throw a fit. And so, I take that skill and have translated it over into nonprofit arena. And so that's what I do to help support them through their process.
I totally understand what you're saying. My background's law, even though I'm kind of active in a non-traditional way, but I navigated over to special ed teaching.
Mhm.
So there's a little bit of law involved with, understanding how to create IEPs and
Absolutely.
advocate for the children and their families. But you're right, the law is a tool that can be used to help others, and it doesn't always have to be in the courtroom. Um,
Absolutely.
so and I'm really grateful that you are, supporting charities, because I also know that I have volunteered with a number of charities for many years, and both large and small, there are a lot of needs that charities have,
Absolutely.
and they don't always have the staff on board in order to do the technical skills. So, how did you get started? How did you figure out that this was an area that, resonated with you, and that was a niche that needed to, kind of be dived into?
So I actually was a nonprofit executive for several years, almost 10 years with a nonprofit. I started with them, and then this is always the funniest part. I started with them after I had come back from law school, needed a job in between while I was studying to take the bar and things like that. And so I started working for a CPS, Children's Protective Services here, and saw an advertisement for a nonprofit, domestic violence and sexual assault. And I had a background. I was a sexual assault advocate in law school. And so I was like, you know what? I don't know the domestic violence side, but I can easily learn how to advocate and support them. And apply for the job. Now, I swear to this day, and this has been over 15 years, but this is like 2002. So I swear, oh my God, it's 20 years. Realize that. So I swear to this day that the job posting said it was 2,500 a month. I got the job, it was 25,000 a year. And so there began my nonprofit life. And so I quickly learned that nonprofits do not necessarily pay their staff a living wage. That's a whole nother podcast we can come back and talk about. But when I became the CEO of that nonprofit, many years later, I took on that role in 2008 after I'd left and worked for a couple of others, came back to them as a CEO and was like, this is not going to work for me. We need to raise wages and things like that. So when that particular organization then closed, I was looking for a job, having been a CEO of an organization. No other nonprofit wanted me to come on and just be their case manager or, vice president of the organization. To be frank, many of their CEOs were afraid I wanted their job. I didn't. I didn't want to raise any more money for anybody but me. If you've been a CEO of a nonprofit, you know what that looks like. And so that left me starting a company because I had to eat. I had a son at that time who was 14. Car note, house note, mortgage, all these things that had to be taken care of. And so I launched out and started. At that time, it was Trinity Consulting Services, and I transformed the name to the Business of Charity to reflect what I actually do and give individuals a better understanding of that in 2018. And so, matter of fact, this month is our 4th anniversary of the Business of Charity. And so here we are.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
The title Business of Charity is really important because even though nonprofits don't pay taxes because that is their status, they still are a business.
Absolutely.
And they still have to think and operate like a business. And whether or not you have a volunteer staff or whether you have volunteers plus a hybrid where you're paying someone on salary, it still has to operate. And you have to think, okay, how can we generate profit, whether it's through donations or other income streams? Because otherwise, as you and I've talked off camera, you don't continue to exist.
Exactly.
And we need charities in our communities because they're providing so often the services that individuals personally need.
Absolutely.
So
we're filling those gaps, the gaps in our community. And so many founders and individuals see a need and jump in to fill that gap without thinking about, well, how do I make this work? They're paying for it out of pocket. Some of them are raising donations from individuals, but usually that's a small group of people that's supporting them. And so the idea is that they are going to put in that foundation that helps them be fundable, not just for the few that they're serving and those who have a tied to their mission or their vision, but those who also want to see them expand to provide more services in the community. So that is the reason why, the business of being a nonprofit organization, and in fact, in Texas, it's a Texas corporation. You are a corporation. And so, I used to tell my clients, you're a corporation, you need to act like it and, put things in place because so many of my clients come to me, very few of them have budgets. I would say whether they've been in existence 1 year or 20, because I've worked with some 20-year-old organizations that didn't have a budget before I came into their life. And so helping them put those pieces in place and then helping them move to that next level is why I do the work that I do.
Yeah, I think, the same idea that you're just talking about in terms of a budget, that applies on, from personal level to the business level. Because if you don't know what your costs and outgoes are, then you don't know what money you need to bring in order to sustain or to create a residual that will then help you carry over.
Exactly.
So that long-term planning is really needed, and it's the nitty-gritty. So before we get too far into our conversation, how do people contact you? I want to make sure that people know how to contact you. And for those that are listening, if you don't have paper and pen, don't worry. I will be putting the contact information in the blog below, but how would they contact you?
So absolutely, they can reach out and book an appointment or a session with us on the website. It's www.businessofcharity.com, business of charity, all spelled out, .com. Or they can also give us a call, 832-786-9958. Myself or my assistant are available, and we're happy to have discussion with anyone who just wants to talk about their nonprofit. I'm fortunate in the sense that I don't charge with those, fees to have that initial conversation. And so, feel free to reach out and just ask us questions.
And that's something that we've talked about too, is the nature of law, the nature of being a lawyer and the nature of service. I know that I I always struggled with the idea of the traditional law firm in terms of the hourly rates, and instead of focusing on maybe the project and that type of thing. So again, the idea that you're open and available to consult with someone initially, complimentary, is something that I think everyone should jump on, because it sort of is like having a business health check. You need to have someone outside sometimes take a look to say, oh, you have this in place, good job, or
Mhm.
you might need to think about this.
Mhm.
And I know that I do different business consulting, and that is, exactly just like you, that having that outside eyes, it just helps someone to say, oh, I just need to shift that.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with doing a checkup. I recommend it. It is that time of the year where I do recommend that organizations just take a moment and just make sure, is your board roster up to date? Have you updated your information with the Secretary of State? Does it match? Have you changed addresses during the year? Do you need to update that information with the Texas Comptroller or with the Secretary of State or with the IRS? And how you do those different mechanics of that process. So, this is a great time for the beginning of year to just stop and take a moment and say, okay, before we jump into the rest of the year and what we're going to do in serving our clients, let's just make sure that we're a healthy organization and move forward from that point. Strategic planning. Strategic planning is something that a lot of organizations don't think about until it's oftentimes too late. It's usually a funder who says, before we give you these funds, we want to see your strategic plan. So, if you've not put one of those in place or thought about it, or maybe you just need to pull it off the shelf, dust it off, blow the dust off, and say, okay, where are we? And update it. This is all a great time to do this.
So you're based in Texas. Do you have
Yes.
clients that are outside of Texas?
I do. Right now, I have clients in multiple states, Georgia, Tennessee, and Louisiana, a couple of others that I can't think of off the top of my head. But I've been fortunate that I've been able to help in multiple states. Oh, Connecticut. I just helped someone in Connecticut last month. And so, we are open to serving wherever that nonprofit is.
That's great. So, how do you get the word out as to what you do? How do people find you?
So I've been blessed that a lot of my marketing, some people hate it, but Facebook has been a great marketing tool for us. 95% of my business comes directly through Facebook or from individuals who saw my post on Facebook. And so a lot of word of mouth, repeat clients, someone's constantly, saying, oh, call Patrina because she can assist you with this. And so just this week alone, matter of fact, yesterday I saw a booking pop up on my calendar and I was like, man, I don't even know where this person came from. I need to add that little piece to my questionnaire that says, how did you find out about me? So that I can get a good handle on that as a good business person. But right now, most of it's coming through Facebook.
So your services, what do
Mhm.
they encompass?
So anywhere from formation to executive coaching. So for those organizations who are thinking about starting a nonprofit, we have a package that we will help them basically put in place everything they need to start off and launch. For those who are looking for some executive coaching as to, what do I do? I have this nonprofit, now what? We offer a 7-month education course or 7 sessions. It can be every other week, depending on how fast they want to go, where we kind of walk them through the nuts and bolts of what it takes to start a nonprofit all the way out to grant writing. Because like I said, I started this because everybody was wanting a grant writer. The problem is that sometimes you can't afford a grant writer. And so I also offer education classes on how to write grants, so that way you don't necessarily feel like I heard a former client say yesterday, she's like, I think I'm finally getting the knack of this grant writing because she had written a grant and so she had received a small award. She's like, after paying for grant writing, Now I think I can do it myself. I am one of the biggest advocates to say, you know what, no one can write better for your organization than you. And so that's one of the things that I also teach and, train individuals and organizations how to do that for themselves. So those are our key core services. I also offer general consulting just for those who just have that, one or two questions about something or a specific project where we can help them with that as well. So they can check that out on the website, or if they like, book a session where we can do an introductory call and discuss their needs.
So, so what is the one tip that you might want to suggest to people who are listening?
So here's the crazy thing, and I'm going to say this, and somebody's probably going to be like, she doesn't want to actually work. Do you need to start a nonprofit? Think about it from that perspective, because you have to fund it. And the reality of it is that now, and especially with 2020, when people were laid off, there were a lot of nonprofits that were started. I helped them. And now they're out there competing with those individuals, existing organizations for finite dollars. I wish I could say there was infinite amount of money for nonprofits out there, but it's not. And so the question I ask everyone is, do you really need to start this nonprofit? And if so, what's going to be your niche? And so just something for them to think about, because there are other nonprofits out there that they may be able to collaborate with or work with before launching their own business.
That's a really great tip. What's the one place that you think that, or maybe more than one place that you think that maybe individuals who are traveling down to your area or other areas that you have visited should definitely discover and explore?
So I live in the great state of Texas, in the lovely city of Houston. There are so many awesome, lovely places, but one place that I love to go, I'm a water person. And even though I don't like to get in the water, go figure, because I grew up in Central Texas, so that's a whole different issue. But Clear Lake Park, it is a beautiful park that sits on the Galveston Bay, where you can go and actually, feed the birds, enjoy the water without necessarily actually being on the out in Galveston on the actual bay itself. So it's a great getaway, and I recommend it to anyone who's traveling in the area.
That sounds awesome. When I head down your direction, I'll make sure that I explore that. One of the things that I wanted to ask you is, do you do any other legal consulting outside of the charity work, or are you primarily for the charities?
Primarily charities, but I also work with the small business owners as well. This is a great time for small businesses to also seek grants. And there are tons of grants that are out there, competitive. But even so, there are companies that are giving away millions of dollars to them. And so you may be able to receive a grant from, for instance, Comcast did one last year. Comcast Rise actually was a recipient. I wrote it for myself, and I was a recipient of it, as well as some other grants that are out there. And so, small business owners, if you're looking for formation, as well as some grant writing, I assist them as well.
So I think that this will blend with what you're sharing with. One of the other hats that I wear because of different consulting that I do is the legal shield side. So for those that are thinking about, again, why you might need to have a lawyer on your personal family team, whether it's from creating a will, estate planning, or anything dealing with, tickets or anything else, even looking at real estate contracts. I mean, almost everything that we touch these days has some sort of law, involved with it. And also, if you're a small business, maybe, after the formation, but you still need contract review or things like that.
Absolutely.
I'll drop the link in so you can check out Legal Shield, because one of the things that resonated with me about Legal Shield is they don't charge you by the hour. It's a flat rate for the month with pretty much unlimited consultations. And if things are not within the overall plan, there's definitely a discount on the hourly rate. But individuals in every state can get a plan, and then you'll be assigned a law firm within your local area, and also Canada. And these law firms have almost over 20 years of experience. So again, not so much from the nonprofit side, definitely use Patrina. And, again, I'm thinking, sometimes you have, like with the doctor, you have a general practitioner and then you have a
Absolutely.
specialist. So you can have more than one consultant help you with different areas that you have needs on in your life. So make sure that you
Absolutely.
have a complete team. And like you said, this is a great time of year to see, do you have your accountant? Do you have your doctor? Do you have your lawyer?
Absolutely. All of them are necessary in this arena, particularly if you want to be moving forward. You want to be, move from that small adolescent organization into that mature, growing organization that you're helping more and more people. So, yes.
Definitely, definitely. So why don't you go ahead and mention one more time your link so people can reach out to you?
So you can definitely reach out and reach us at businessofcharity.com, as well as phone number 832-786-9958. So we look forward to working with you.
That's awesome. So everyone, thank you so much for being on today. Definitely like and subscribe. I know that Patrina and I are going to be doing other episodes that are going to be targeted on topics that you definitely will want to listen to, because at different times of the year, you need to do that tax health check, that other,
Yes.
there's a variety of things that we're going to dive deep into. So thank you so much, Patrina, for being on. I look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you for having me.